It's Thursday, February 24. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Petrojam is warning consumers to brace for increases in gas prices over the next few weeks. According to the state-owned oil refinery, the local increases will be the result of higher crude prices amid the Russia-Ukraine crisis and possible supply constraints due to Monday's explosion and fire at the Marathon Petroleum Corp refinery in Louisiana. 35 residents of St. Elizabeth can now boast of having ownership of a prized piece of the rock. They were presented with their certificates of title by Prime Minister Andrew Holness during a special titling ceremony hosted by the National Land Agency, NLA, at the Newell High School on Wednesday. This is the first group of persons to be awarded titles under the NLA's inaugural systematic land registration program, which seeks to assist persons to obtain titles for undisputed property they have lived on for upwards of 12 years. In his address at the handover ceremony, Mr. Holness said government is moving methodically to get titles in the hands of Jamaicans. He said there were still far too many persons who occupy land uninterrupted for generations who are fearful of approaching the government to obtain titles.
What we recognized was happening was that there are not many Jamaicans who felt the need to approach the state to say, I want title for the land, because the process is so involved. It is so expensive. It is so intimidating. And then there are those who just feel, boy, if I go ask, maybe they will take the land away from me. So better I just leave it as it is. So we are having this ceremony here today, this, I wouldn't say elaborate, but well-organized ceremony. Not for us to take advantage of the political benefit of handing out titles and to make the grand political speech that we're going to hand out over 20,000 titles by the next 2 years. 3 years, Minister, you did make the speech. I suspect you're waiting on me to do it. But in 3 years, we will be handing out 20,000 titles. And we will make much of that because it is a big political gain. But today, what I really wanted to communicate to the people of Jamaica is that we are in a different dispensation of land settlement in the country.
The Prime Minister also used the occasion to encourage the land title recipients who reside in the communities of Flagaman, Berlin, Potsdam and Burnt Savannah to use the documents to create avenues for their economic advancement.
Aside from the deep-seated desire to say, I own a piece of Jamaica, and yes, for many, the most important title is the land title, without question. But why is it so important? Your land title opens up a vista of opportunities for economic growth and development. Having the state of Jamaica say, I stand behind your claim on land, that nobody else can challenge you on this land, gives you immediately an economic advantage to go to a bank or other lending agency and say, I have an asset that the government of Jamaica say, I alone own this asset and nobody else can challenge it. And therefore, it is safe to do business with me. That's a powerful tool.
Also addressing the gathering, CEO of the NLA and Commissioner of Lands, Sharice Walcott, thanked the various stakeholders for their support in the process. She also said her agency remains committed to providing an efficient and transparent land titling system that guarantees security of tenure for Jamaicans.
We will continue to support the government's thrust to ensure that citizens' rights to land ownership are protected by making continuous improvements to our service delivery standards, introducing innovative products to enhance citizens' access to our service, and increase revenue generation, as well as strengthen capacity building initiatives so that our staff can provide a high-quality service to our customers. Land is at the heart of development. Secure land tenure is thus vital to building the inclusive, resilient, and sustainable communities that will propel economic and social progress well into the future.
Government is spending billions of dollars annually on the 6th Foreign Pathways program. Addressing the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee in Parliament on Wednesday, Chief Education Officer Cassandra Troop argued that the investment was worth it. She is therefore urging students to take maximum advantage of the educational opportunities provided under the program.
For me personally, this is a thrust at equity. We have students in our country, and I can speak from my family. My son knew he was going to have a 7-year of high school program. That was clear. And so there are students from 1968 in this country that had the opportunity of 7 years of high school up to now, and they were able to benefit from the resources of the government to see themselves through to university. This program has now created or enabled those students, those marginalized youth who were denied of this opportunity because we failed to pivot the system over time to respond to these students. This is what this pathway program has done.
Dr. Troop stressed the importance of the pathway program to rebalancing the inequities in the local system.
It is very critical because there are other students who saw this as a normal pathway. 7 years of high school is not new. It has been happening from 1968, and persons have maximized on that. What we have done is to level the playing field, enable those students who have been denied over time. And I'm just using this opportunity to call on our parents to see the value of this investment. Education is that weapon that is going to break the cycle of poverty. Education is that vehicle that will lead to the economic and social transformation that you desire for your families. It gives students an opportunity for increased certification, which will see them moving towards home ownership, changing their own lives, their families in the future. And I want persons to see the value of that. There are things to fix, yes, and we commit to getting it right.
The head of the Pan American Health Organization is warning that low vaccination coverage in many countries in the Caribbean must be urgently addressed. PAHO Director Dr. Carissa Etienne made the call at a virtual media brief on Wednesday. Simone Absalom Gale reports.
PAHO's Director Dr. Carissa Etienne says this is critical to stop the spread of COVID-19 and protect the most vulnerable, with healthcare workers and the elderly remaining particularly at risk. The regional health official pointed out that of the 13 countries and territories in the Americas that have not yet reached WHO's 2021 goal of 40% vaccination coverage, 10 are in the Caribbean.
Although new cases dropped across the Caribbean by 44%, more than half of the 13 countries and territories that reported increases in deaths in our region were in the Caribbean. In the Bahamas, the virus continues to hit vulnerable groups. It is estimated that some 10% of healthcare workers are currently in quarantine due to COVID-related exposures. Grenada reported a 50% increase in ICU admissions, while Jamaica's rose by 23%, and Guadeloupe had a 9% rise as compared to the previous week.
Dr. Etienne says vaccine hesitancy, a lack of vaccination centers in remote areas, insufficient staff members, and limited cold chain infrastructure remain huge barriers to vaccination in many islands. However, she insists that the region has the tools to turn the tide on vaccinations.
First, we must tailor our interventions to the needs of those who remain vulnerable in each country. In Jamaica, for example, this means reaching out to casual workers and young men who have the lowest vaccination rates in the country. In Trinidad and Tobago, This means engaging nurses who are trusted sources of medical information, but also the health workers most likely to remain unprotected. And in Barbados, which is known for having some of the highest percentage of centenarians in the world, it means protecting those on the cusp of turning 100 years so that they can continue to live healthy lives.
Dr. Etienne is urging countries to work with trusted voices and community leaders to create spaces for dialogue to address concerns around vaccination, even as she issued this personal appeal.
The best decision that you can make for your health right now is to get a vaccine against COVID. The pandemic is not over, and a new variant can emerge at any point. If you have been vaccinated, but you know someone who has not been, please reach out to them, listen to their concerns, and share information. Help them find a vaccination site. We have the power as a community to overcome these barriers and reduce the toll of this virus on our people.
For the news on PBCJ, I'm Simone Absalom Gale.
Jamaicans will know shortly what measures will be put in place to facilitate the reopening of the entertainment sector. This was stated by Prime Minister Andrew Holness during a virtual press briefing this week. He says that Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Desmond McKenzie, will be making the announcements shortly.
Within the present protocols that exist and that has been announced, the attendance at large events which still pose a risk to public health in terms of spreading of the virus. The position based upon science and advice, public health science and advice, is that it is best to have only vaccinated persons gather en masse. For those of you who follow, for example, things like the Super Bowl and other large gatherings overseas, you would see that they do maintain some of these requirements.
Mr. Holness stressed the importance of society striking the right balance amid the ongoing pandemic.
I am sympathetic towards persons who are not vaccinated. In fact, you know, kids are going back to school who won't be vaccinated. But it's all about just trying to get the right balance as we carefully exit. All right, so, you know, I'm not of a mind or of a view that says that unvaccinated people should be discriminated against.
Jamaica will be hosting the world's largest cruise ship, Wonder of the Seas, and the Royal Caribbean's flagship Oasis-class vessel in November. According to Royal Caribbean's Western Caribbean itinerary for 2022, Wonder of the Seas, which is due to begin its maiden voyage from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to the Eastern Caribbean on March 4, will arrive in Falmouth, Trelawney on November 27. Jamaica's tourism officials and stakeholders are saying it's a huge vote of confidence from the second biggest cruise company behind Carnival Cruise Line. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett said in a statement that the development is a signal that Jamaica's tourism offerings continue to be world-class and that the major cruise lines see the island as an important cruise partner. Time now for a look at the daily market updates and news on the local oil prices with the Business Report with Danita Rodney.
State-owned oil refinery Pbcj has announced a slight reduction in gas prices as of Thursday, February 24, but warns consumers to brace for increases in coming weeks. With a 25-cent cut in the prices of gasoline, 87 and 90 octane gasoline will be sold for $180.65 and $185.67 per liter, respectively. Automotive diesel fuel will be sold for $183.41 per liter. Ultra-low sulfur diesel will be sold for $187.92 per liter. Kerosene prices continued with a 25-cent decline and will be sold for $158.01 per liter. Propane liquid petroleum saw a $3.06 price hike and will be sold for $79.10 per liter. Butane liquid petroleum will be sold for $88.89 per liter, following a $3 increase. Be on the lookout for price changes as marketing companies and retailers will add their markup to these prices. In foreign exchange traded for Wednesday, February 23, the US dollar sold for an average $156.39. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $122.34. The pound sterling traded for $213.23, and the euro sold for an average $179.25. In Wednesday's trading session, the following reflect the movement of the JSE indices. The JSE index declined by 1,127 points to close at under 400,000 units. The junior market index advanced by 43 points to close at over 3,000 units. The combined market index declined by 674 points to close at over 400,000 units. And the all Jamaican composite index declined by 964 points to close at over 445,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 107 stocks, of which 51 advanced, 38 declined, and 18 traded firm. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services Limited, Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, and Blue Power Group Limited. Stocks declined for AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and CAC 2000 Limited. Traded firm were 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 138 Student Living Jamaica Variable Preference, and 1834 Investments Limited. Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited was the volume leader with over 3.6 million units, followed by Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares with over 3 million units, and Scotia Group Jamaica Limited with over 900,000 units. In market data for oil, oil prices jumped on Thursday with Brent rising above $105 a barrel for the first time since 2014 after Russia's attack on Ukraine. Brent crude was up $8.15 or 8.4% at $104.99 a barrel, having touched a high of $105.79. West Texas Intermediate crude jumped $7.33 or 8% to $99.43 a barrel. With Russia being one of the largest producer and exporter of natural gas, concerns are being voiced about disruption to global energy supply. And that does it for this Thursday's edition of the Business Report. I'm Danita Rodney. Pleasant viewing.
In regional news, communication costs for Caribbean nationals traveling within the region will become more affordable in the coming weeks. This as the Caribbean's community head of government with responsibility for science and technology, Prime Minister of Grenada, Dr. Keith Mitchell, signed a declaration for the reduction of these charges on Wednesday. Terry Ann Brown Campbell tells us more.
According to the signatories to the St. George's Declaration, roaming charges for CARICOM nationals will fall by up to 70% for some consumers. Grenada's Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell, signed the document on Wednesday with representatives from Digicel and Cable and Wireless.
As we signed the Declaration of St. George's towards a reduction of intra-Caribbean roaming charges. However, I must caution, our eyes are set firmly on the ultimate goal, which is to achieve total elimination of roaming charges through the entire CARICOM family.
Prime Minister of Barbados, Mayor Motley joined in online and highlighted the significance to the region.
The CARICOM Commission on the Economy reported that in order to have greater efficiency within our single market space, that we needed to create that single information and data space in our community. And within that space, our goal really is the elimination of roaming charges.
Dr. Mitchell says other regional telecommunication partners will be encouraged to sign on to the declaration. Terry Ann Brown Campbell, TTT News.
In Grenada, Cabinet has agreed to remove restrictions on gatherings for fully vaccinated persons following recommendations from the country's COVID Advisory Committee. More details in this report.
That announcement on Tuesday by Minister for Health and Social Security, Honorable Nicholas Steele. During the government's weekly post-cabinet press briefing on Tuesday, Minister Steele said they are now considering the best course of action for non-vaccinated persons, churches, and even the possible removal of the mask mandate.
It is being contemplated as to how we can move forward also with non-vaccinated as well. And over the next couple of days or so, that will be discussed. We also believe that it is can be contemplated now for churches as well, that there would not be a need for the 6-foot or 3-foot distancing in churches. We do recommend or require that persons would still wear masks when attending services, but we look forward to contemplation. It is not yet, but we look forward to the contemplation, maybe by the end of the month or into next month, of the mask mandate being removed as well.
Providing an update on Grenada's current COVID-19 situation, the Ministry of Health says of the 435 tests conducted on Monday, 33 returned positive, which translates into a test positivity rate of 7.6%. Grenada currently has 167 active COVID-19 cases. The health minister says the plan is to achieve a new normal as much as possible.
I truly do hope, if the current trend continues, that we can be looking at most, if not all, of our restrictions, travel included, being changed by March, April. And I think most countries are contemplating that too. So, which is good news for us all. And in particular, for the so many Grenadians that have been making the sacrifice to keep us as safe as possible.
And in St. Kitts and Nevis, successes in food production processes on Nevis are being reported by the government. Andre Huey has the details in this report.
In its continued pursuit of food sustainability on Nevis, the Ministry of Agriculture, through the Department of Agriculture, is so far recording successes in food production. Mr. Huey Sargent, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, says the success is based on the demand for crops cultivated on the government-owned farms.
Peanuts has performed exceptionally well. The demand and the quality is phenomenal. We're actually harvesting peanuts again because of the response, and I want to thank NTV and your unit for doing some good promotion. Because of that, we would have had interests. We were in a process of accepting huge orders for peanuts even while they were in the ground because of that demand, and many of the persons were happy at the quality that they would have received from agriculture. So thank you, and we are on the road to continue the production of peanuts on the island.
Mr. Sargent also spoke on the growing demand for sorrel.
We are seeing that there's a demand for sorrel, not just in the festive time, but throughout the year. So we've embarked in Indian Castle in particular to do sorrel, because we have sorrel, I think, down to as far as June.
He noted there is also the demand for soursop, and in order to keep up with the demand at the Nevis Agro-Processing Centre, the department had to resort to cultivation on a commercial basis. The department also ventured into root crop production on the government-owned farms and have planted cassava, tania, ginger, cantaloupe, green banana, onion, and sweet potato. Mr. Sargent spoke to the progress at the government-owned farm on Indian Castle, where the focus is on tree crop production. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
Over now to sports. Fully vaccinated spectators will get the opportunity to attend this year's staging of the ISSA Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championships at the National Stadium. According to a press release issued on Wednesday, the number of spectators is yet to be determined. Meanwhile, approval has also been granted for other ISSA high school competitions to resume over the next 2 weeks, with action set to get underway in under-19 girls netball, boys basketball, under-19 cricket and under-16 boys football. ISSA Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championships will run from April 5 to 9. Barbados, Suriname, St. Kitts and Nevis and Bermuda are celebrating their first victories of the 2022 CONCACAF Women's Qualifying Campaign. One of the most exciting matches saw Barbados tasting victory against Aruba's side 3-1 in the Dominican Republic for their first win in Group D. Suriname also have their first 3 points in Group A following a 5-0 victory over Anguilla in Suriname. St. Kitts and Nevis put on a show in Group B, emerging with a 5-1 win over Curaçao in the Dominican Republic. In a match played in the IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, Bermuda bounced back from their 4-0 opening loss to Jamaica with a 6-0 win over Cayman Islands in Group B. Former West Indies opening batsman Phil Wallace says he has seen changes in the approach of Jamaican opener John Campbell since he was dropped from the West Indies setup last year. Campbell had a promising start to his Test career in 2019, getting 44 and 33 against England in Barbados. This was followed up with scores of 47, 11 not out and a duck in the remaining games of that series. But with just 2 half-centuries in his 30 Test innings, the left-hander was dropped after the Sri Lanka series in March last year. However, with a century during the second round of the regional 4-day championship, the 28-year-old has been given another chance at the highest level, and Wallace is hoping the Jamaican will do well. And with that, we call an end to the news. On behalf of our entire news production crew, thanks for making it PBCJ, the People's Station.